Hello everyone. So, welcome to the recap video. What can I say about this one then? Sunday, the 5th of January at 7:30 PM, 12 of us took part in an FA Cup tournament. So how did it work, I'm guessing you're thinking? Well, basically the way it worked was we holidayed through a season by just selecting the English League, and we holidayed to the start of the third round of the FA Cup. Now originally we had 13 players sign up. One of the players dropped out, unfortunately. That was Will Taylor, who was given Leicester City, I believe it was. He dropped out, he couldn't make it in the end, so it puts us down to these 12 now that you can see. So basically the 13 originally, but obviously the 12 now, were all given Premier League team. Out of the 20 Premier League teams that enter the third round, all of them went into the hat, and these were who we all got given. So what we had to do, we had to take our given team through the FA Cup tournament. Any other games like the Premier League or European commitments, we would holiday past, completely making them irrelevant. We would just holiday past them, keeping our tactics the same and team selection whenever possible, just so that when we got to the FA Cup game we'd all be set to go. And yeah, it was just a network game solely focused on the FA Cup competition. So we had a few ups and downs. I'll explain them as we go. Myself, I had a bit of a nightmare. So Johnny McGraw hosted it, and he hosted it brilliantly, I must say. So what happened was, generally I would orchestrate it all and try and help, so it flows well, the network game. But lo and behold, you couldn't write it. Went to toilet, dropped my phone on its backside. No, it didn't smash it or anything, but it just wouldn't turn on. So it must have hit the floor with such force, it fell out of my pocket, and I couldn't communicate with everyone. The only person I could communicate with was Johnny via the chat in game. So yeah, that was a bit of a ball ache. That made it harder to get through it. But all in all, we got through it and got the job done. So yeah, enough of me rambling on. Let's show you how it all went down. So here you are, looking at the third round. So obviously we have to scroll down in a minute, but we'll talk through the first bit that you see. So we had Newcastle United, who was Johnny McGraw, who was hosting the game. He had a fairly straightforward tie, let's be honest, facing League 2 Harrogate. He'd be, well, no other word than just expected to win that match, and he did comfortably 5-1. So let's take a look at Johnny, how he went about that game. So this was his selection. I should say as well, should have mentioned it at the beginning, we were using the October 2024 data update with certain things from Nick's patcher, Nick's V230 patcher. So this is what we went with. So if you're looking at it now thinking, what, Nick Pope at Newcastle? That's because we used the October 2024 update with stuff from Nick's patcher added on to make it realistic. So as you can see in the top left corner, starting in the year, it would be 24, but obviously we forwarded the game onto the third round, so we're now in 25. It makes everything realistic. So let's have a look. So yeah, no signings were allowed to be made, by the way. You just go with the team that you got given and the way they were. So Newcastle must have signed Rasmus Højlund from Manchester United. So Johnny would have had Rasmus there already. Højlund, sorry, I should say already. And yeah, you get given the team that you have and you go with that squad that you've got. So yeah, 5-1 here. This was who he selected. That's the overview. So Højlund actually got 2 goals. How did Johnny set up? This was Johnny's set up. There were certain rules in place where you had to have 2 wide players and things like that. You weren't allowed to use Wib-Wob, but we disabled that anyway via Nick's patcher. So yeah, that's how Johnny set up. Those were his team instructions. And yeah, all in all, a well expected victory there, 5-1, easy peasy. So we then had Southampton. Just got to remind myself who was Southampton. I've got the list here. So Anthony Brown was Southampton, and he was facing another Premier League team, but obviously a Premier League team that was AI controlled because nobody got drawn, West Ham. So yep, it was a tough game by the looks of things, but 3-2 to Anthony there. This was who he selected. There we go. Obviously they were the goal scorers. One hell of a game there by the looks of things, and that was how he set up. Yeah, that was Anthony's set up, and he got through in a tough game against West Ham. Very good result, that. Fair play to Anthony. So then you had myself, Ipswich Town, playing Championship side Hull. I started well by winning 3-0. This was how I set my team up. This is who I went with. Fairly straightforward. That was my tactic that I went with, and that was how I set up for that particular game. So far all the human managers navigated through. Then you had a all human clash there. So 2 players that were involved in the network game facing off. So you had Nottingham Forest, who were controlled by David J. Taylor, and then you had, bear with me, who took on Everton? I've got the list here, I have to remind myself. Everton was Pedro Miguel Lindeza, and Pedro won that 2-0. But if I'm not mistaken, let me have a look. Did that go to a replay? It did, yes. So this is what happened. So basically, they played out a 0-0, as you can see. Wow, Everton dominated that one, didn't they? Bloody hell, Forest surviving by the skin of their teeth. So yeah, that was 0-0, that first third round tie. This was how David set up. And this is how Pedro set up. And I believe what happened was David got booted from the game, and he kept trying to rejoin so that he could play the third round replay. And I think the time he did join, the replay had been done, so that AI controlled the match, because David was having trouble getting in. So unfortunately for David, he only played that first match. He wasn't able to play the replay. The AI played it for him. So he went out in that match. That was how the AI set up, quite clearly. Yeah, that was how the AI set up. So yeah, unfortunately for David, he did get booted and couldn't get back in time, and he wasn't able to control the replay match. Only that first one, the 0-0, and this was how Pedro set up. So yeah, Pedro won the replay, taking it to a 2-0 victory there. So yeah, that's what happened in regards to that all human clash. Shame about that, but these things happen sometimes. You then had Wolves, who were managed by Wayne Chester, smashing non-league Scarborough. Very expected, wasn't it? Look, 4 goals from Larson. Yeah, absolutely dominated, as you'd expect. Little bit similar to my tactic, except instead where Grady's is in the AMSC position, I would have had a DMC instead. So slightly like mine. That's how Wayne set up. He navigated through quite comfortably. So let's scroll up. Where are we? What one did we just look at? We just looked at Wolves, didn't we? Okay. Let me just get to the next human game. So we had another all-human match here, and that was Villa versus Manchester United. So Villa were controlled by Rodney T, and Manchester United were controlled by Adnan Kusic. and Rodney took the victory 2-1, as you can see there, in a closely contested game. Yeah, that was a set-up from Rodney, and Adnan's set-up with Manchester United, Benjamin Sesko, and must have been signed. Rodney navigates through. You then had Crystal Palace, which was managed by the Dane in our group, which was Jesper Ronman. He beat Championship West Brom there 4-1. Straightforward. Jesper's set up there as follows. Comfortable for Jesper. Look at this for a shock. So Edgar Oliveira, his Tottenham side, who are obviously a strong team in the competition, knocked out by League One Stockport. One hell of a giant killing shock, that one, and he would be gutted with that. I think anyone would be to lose 1-0 to Stockport County. I mean, it is the FA Cup, these things happen. It is the beauty and the magic of the cup, as they say. So yeah, look at that. And they even had a lot more shots as well. Well, not a lot more shots, sorry, just one more shot, although not as many on target. What went on there? And it was an own goal as well, so he'd be devastated to have lost that, Edgar. But that is a massive shock, that one. And that is how he set up. Very funky looking, that. Sun out to the left, and then Solanke in the middle. Yeah, that was how Edgar set up. That's obviously what he believes in, but it didn't work on this occasion, and he got, let's be honest, embarrassed. I think he'd be the first to admit that. And then you had Alex Gordon, who was Fulham. Very tough game for him. I mean, Arsenal away, it's always going to be an uphill battle for Alex there to get through. Alex comfortably beaten 3-0 by Arsenal. You'd expect Arsenal to win that one, in fairness, but he'd be disappointed, Alex, that he didn't really put up much of a fight, his Fulham team there. That's how he set up. Yeah, Alex falls at the first hurdle, unfortunately for him. And then you have Brighton v Millwall. So Stuart Danton with Brighton, and winning 5-2 in a bit of a thriller. Dominating it if you're looking at the stats. That was his setup. Stuart getting through 5-2. Good stuff. Sorry, I don't remember showing you the stats from some of these games. So Wolves and Scarborough, that was the stats. Forest and Everton, that was the stats of the replay game. Show you the stats of the original game. Which, oh, we don't want that, sorry. Of the 0-0. That was the stats there. Domination. Stats of my game. Stats of the Southampton West Ham game. That was very close, that one. Very close. And then the Newcastle Harrogate domination there. So I've just actually noticed as well that Crystal Palace West Brom was actually a replay. So I've just had a look. I'll get that up now. So yeah, as you can see there, that was actually the replay match. So originally it was a 1-1 draw. 2 sending offs there for Palace. Close game. And Jesper set up as follows. So that was actually a replay match, the 4-1. Interesting. So there you have it. So let's go to the 4th round. So the 4th round, look at that. Straight away, Newcastle, Johnny McGraw's Newcastle knocked out in the 4th round, 3-0 to Coventry. Well. Close game by the looks of things. But yeah, Johnny knocked out in the 4th round. Interesting. And I will check that was no replay, because it doesn't seem to show the replay. So no, that was just a straight knocking out. Then you had Villa versus Liverpool. So Rodney T's Villa, he also fell out of the 4th round stage, unfortunately for him, but he did play a strong Liverpool team coming up against them. So Rodney's journey comes to an end, but judging by the stats, he had the better of it, of the game. Yeah, Rodney, a tough game there in front of him, unfortunately knocked out. And again, I will have a look if that was just a straight knocking out and not a replay. So yeah, it was. So Rodney out there. Everton QPR. So you had Everton. I'm trying to remind myself. I've got the list here. Forgive me for that. That was Pedro Miguel Lindeza. He beat QPR 3-0. Beto getting 2 goals. Yeah, it's a domination, wasn't it? Utter domination, that. Nicely done. And that was just a straight knocking out there. Then you had Wolves, Wayne Chester's Wolves beating Preston by 1-0. I'm going to speed through a little bit now because the video's getting quite long. We'll check that. Straight knocking out, no replay needed. Then Crystal Palace v Leeds. So yeah, Palace out. Jesper Ronman's Palace knocked out in the 4th round, unfortunately for him. Got dominated there by Leeds, and it was a last minute winner. He would be sick with that. That's how he set up. Let's have a look if that was replay. It was, yes. So it was actually a 1-1 draw in the first game. So Jesper 1-1 draw with Leeds. Another close game. And then, as I just showed you, he was knocked out in the replay. Interesting. So then you have Bournemouth Southampton. So Southampton again. Who was Southampton? That was Anthony Brown's. Anthony Brown's tournament come to an end against a rival, a local rival. Bournemouth dominated that game, didn't they? That was Anthony's set up. Let's just have a look if that was not a replay. No, it was a straight knocking out. And he actually played Bournemouth in the league after. Well, he didn't, but the computer did. So that was that. And then it was myself against Watford. I won 2-0 in that one. And I remember, no, it didn't go to a replay. Dominated that game. Sorry, it wasn't a replay, that one. Okay. Then we've got Brighton Burnley, which was Stuart Danton's Brighton beating Burnley 3-1 there. Burnley put up a bit of a fight, but Stuart gets through with his Brighton team. And there was no replay for that one beforehand. Okay, so the 5th round. Here we go. So, Wayne Chester's Wolves beating Brentford 2-0. Wayne getting his Wolves team into the quarterfinals there. And that was a straight knocking out, no replay. Everton 1-0. Pedro with his Everton team taking them to the quarterfinals, beating a fellow Premier League team in Bournemouth. Fair play to Pedro, taking Everton to the quarterfinals. Again, that one wasn't a replay match. And then you had Stuart Danton beating Stockport. Made a game of it, that's for sure, Stockport. But he got through 3-2 despite a sending off. Dominated the game by the looks of the stats. And that one wasn't a replay either. And then myself falling victim to Arsenal, who was always going to be a tough test, beating them. Knocked me out, no replay there, just straight knocked me out 2-0, even though they had a sending off. Tried my best, but Arsenal deserved winners, as you would expect. And my journey came to the end in the 5th round, unfortunately for me. That's the 5th round, quarter-final. Getting interesting now. So Wayne Chester falls victim to Championship Sunderland. He would be gutted with that, because playing a Championship team, you would have thought he could have got to the semi-finals there. He'd be gutted to fall victim there in the quarters to a team a division below him. Sunderland deserved it, judging by the stats. Good game, plenty of goals. And yeah, Wayne will be gutted with that. He could have gone one step further, and that would have been a great tournament for him. But I think getting this far, quarterfinals, was good, but that would have let him down losing to these, no doubt about it. And he will be gutted with that. And as far as I'm aware, there was no replay for that. Yep, it was just a straight knocking out. Then Pedro come up against Arsenal. So Arsenal knocking us all out, the human players. First it knocked Alex out, then it knocked me out, I think. Was it me? No, Alex, then someone else. Might have been three human people it knocked out. But yeah, Pedro fall victim to Arsenal there, losing by 1-0. Fairly close. Good effort from Pedro to get to the quarters with Everton. Yeah, Arsenal having their way and winning the match. And again, that was just a straight knockout. No replay. And it's Stuart Danton, fair play to him, beating Liverpool away from home. He just keeps surprising, Stuart. He won our World Cup tournament, which was the first network game we did. Look at that. Nicely done. So what that means is Stuart obviously got the furthest out of all the human managers. And that was just a straight knocking out, that. No replay needed. So let's show you the semi. Stuart will be gutted with that. To get this far and then to lose to Championship Coventry. What a gutter. Look at that. He would be gutted, and he had the better of the game, judging by the stats. But Stuart knocked out in the semi-final, but went the furthest out of all the human managers. So even though, and it was he didn't go to penalties or nothing, you can't have no replays for the semi. So even though no human manager won it, Stuart got the furthest. Who won the tournament? Arsenal beat Coventry 2-1. So Coventry done well to get to the final, and Arsenal win the whole thing, AI controlled. So there you have it. I'm going to end it there because the video's getting long. But that's it. That was the FA Cup tournament. Another successful session. See you soon.